Something happened in Washington at the start of this year that a lot of seniors are still waiting to feel in their bank accounts, and if you fall into one of the three groups I am going to describe in this video, you need to stop what you are doing and watch this all the way through. Because there is a real possibility that your Social Security check is already supposed to be larger than what you are currently receiving. And the only reason it has not changed yet is because you have not taken one specific step that I will walk you through before this video ends. Let me tell you what changed and why it matters so much. For decades, and when I say decades, I mean the better part of 40 years, there were two provisions buried inside Social Security law that quietly drained money out of the monthly checks of millions of retired Americans who had spent their careers serving the public. These provisions had complicated technical names that most people had never heard of, and that anonymity was part of the problem. Because when something does not have a simple name and no one is explaining it on television, people just accept a lower check and assume that is what they are supposed to get. Millions of retirees did exactly that. They accepted less because nobody told them they should have been getting more. The first provision was called the Windfall Elimination Provision, and it reduced Social Security retirement benefits for workers who spent part of their career in a job that did not withhold Social Security taxes, typically a government job, and then also worked enough in the private sector to qualify for Social Security on their own record. The formula used to calculate their benefit was deliberately modified to produce a lower monthly amount, sometimes hundreds of dollars lower every single month. The second provision was the government pension offset, and it targeted people who were trying to collect Social Security spousal or survivor benefits while also receiving a pension from a government job. In many cases, it eliminated the spousal or survivor benefit entirely. Not reduced, eliminated. People who had planned their entire retirement around collecting both a government pension and a spousal Social Security benefit found out after their spouse died or after they filed that they were getting nothing from Social Security at all. In January of 2025, President Biden signed the Social Security Fairness Act into law. That legislation did one thing, and it did it completely. It repealed both of those provisions. The Windfall Elimination Provision and the government pension offset are gone. They no longer exist in federal law, and the Social Security Administration is now required to recalculate benefits for every person who was affected and issue the higher payments going forward, along with retroactive back pay covering the period since the law's effective date. This is not a proposal. This is not something that might happen. It is already the law, and the money is already moving, just not to everyone who is owed it yet. So let us talk about the three groups of seniors who qualify for a larger check, because the overlap and the specifics matter a great deal here. The first group is retired public employees. If you spent your career, or a significant portion of it, working as a public school teacher, a firefighter, a police officer, a state or local government employee, a federal civil service worker under the old civil service retirement system, or in any other government role where your paycheck did not have Social Security taxes withheld, and you also worked enough in covered employment to qualify for your own Social Security benefit, then you were likely subject to the Windfall Elimination Provision. The reduction was applied on a sliding scale depending on how many years of substantial earnings you had in covered employment. But even at its most favorable, it still took money out of your check every single month. That reduction is now gone, and the Social Security Administration owes you the difference going back to January of 2024. For many people, this means a monthly benefit increase averaging anywhere from $200 to $500 or more, plus a retroactive lump sum that could be several $1,000s depending on when your case is processed. The second group is surviving spouses of public employees. This one may be the most emotionally difficult because so many people in this situation are widows and widowers who were already going through the hardest chapter of their lives, when they discovered that the government pension offset was going to take away most or all of the survivor benefit they had counted on. If your spouse worked in a government job, earned a pension from that work, and died before you, federal law allowed Social Security to offset your survivor benefit by 2/3 of your government pension amount. For people with even a modest pension, that calculation wiped out the entire survivor benefit. You were left with nothing from Social Security despite your spouse having paid into the system for years. Under the Social Security Fairness Act, that offset no longer applies. Survivor benefits that were reduced must now be restored to their full calculated amount, and survivor benefits that were eliminated entirely must now be paid. If this is your situation, and you have not received a notice from Social Security yet, you need to take action immediately rather than waiting for them to find you. The third group is current spouses collecting spousal benefits. If you are still alive and collecting, or attempting to collect, a Social Security spousal benefit based on your husband's or wife's work record, and you also receive a pension from a government employer, the government pension offset was reducing that spousal benefit by 2/3 of your pension amount every month. The logic behind the offset was always contested, and now it is legally dead. Your spousal benefit should be calculated without any reduction for your government pension. If your spousal benefit was being paid at a reduced amount, it should now be recalculated at the full amount. If it was being paid at zero because the offset ate the entire benefit, you should now be receiving a payment. Here is the critical piece of practical information you need to act on right now. The Social Security Administration is a massive federal agency, and processing 3 million plus affected cases takes time. The agency has been working through cases in batches, and while many people have already received both a notice and a retroactive payment, a significant number of people have not. Some of that is simply the pace of bureaucracy, but some of it is because the agency has outdated contact information, because direct deposit details have changed, or because the person's file has a flag or discrepancy that requires manual review. If you fall into any of the three groups I described, and you have not seen a change in your monthly deposit, and have not received a letter from the Social Security Administration about your updated benefit calculation, you cannot assume it is coming on its own timetable. You need to be proactive. The first step is to log into your My Social Security account at ssa.gov. Look at your benefit verification letter and your payment history. If your monthly amount has not changed since December of 2024, and you know you were subject to either the windfall elimination provision or the government pension offset, that is a red flag that your case has not been processed yet. The second step is to call the Social Security Administration directly. The main number is 800-772-1213. When you call, tell the representative specifically that you are calling about the Social Security Fairness Act repeal and that you believe your benefit has not been recalculated. Have your Social Security number, your pension information, and any prior correspondence from the agency ready before you call. If you visit a local Social Security office in person, bring documentation of your government pension, specifically the monthly pension amount, and a copy of any prior notices that mentioned either the windfall elimination provision or the government pension offset. There is also a tax consideration that nobody is warning people about. If you receive a retroactive lump sum payment that covers 12 months or more of increased benefits, that money is taxable income in the year you receive it. Depending on your total income picture, a large lump sum could push you into a higher income bracket for that tax year, which affects not just your federal taxes, but potentially your Medicare Part B and Part D premiums the following year, since those are income-based. Before you spend any retroactive payment, talk to a tax professional or a benefits counselor about how to handle it properly. This is not a reason to avoid claiming what you are owed. It is just a reason to plan intelligently. One more thing before you go. If you know a retired teacher, a former firefighter, a widow of a government worker, or anyone who spent their career in public service and has been quietly accepting a reduced Social Security check, please share this video with them. A lot of the people who need this information most are not the ones searching for it online. They are the ones sitting at the kitchen table, living on less than they are owed, and assuming that the government has everything right. Sometimes it does not. And sometimes the only thing standing between a senior and several $100s more per month is someone forwarding them a video. If this kind of real, specific, no-nonsense information about the programs that affect your financial life is what you are looking for, then subscribe to this channel right now, because this is exactly what we do here. There is more coming, and you do not want to miss it.